Howdy, howdy, everybody. Welcome back to Cause Before Symptom and a joint episode of Urban Odyssey and Cause Before Symptom. Tonight, actually, we had a very unexpected surprise. So, tonight we're going to have a special joint episode. I'm going to welcome up James Carner, the host of Cause Before Symptom. So, let me bring you up. There you go. Howdy, buddy.
Hey,
Welcome back. That was a fast vacation.
yeah, it's a long story. Yeah, I don't want to get into it, but yeah, I'm back. I thought I was going to be gone for a couple weeks, but turns out it's just a couple of days. And when I got back early, I thought I'd say, "Hey, dude, I am interested in what you're talking about. I want to be a guest, and I want to hear more."
I've been wanting to do it for a while, and I know that it's just been hectic. This seems like everybody's very busy lately, and I know everybody's got their own life and stuff. But we wanted to do a show,
Mhm.
and I'm glad that we got to do it. So that's great. I'm glad to have you here. We finished yesterday only half of the presentation because we took our time, but we talked about the point yesterday. I told everybody to remember is that I think that all of these different technologies, geoengineering, zero point energy, what Nikola Tesla was working on, or back in the early 1900s. Now, apparently, at the time, people were told that there was no merit to this technology. It was not. It didn't work. It didn't do anything. But it turns out that the government. There's actually a news publication that says the government sent some guys over there with TNT to blow the whole thing up because he was using it to communicate with the Germans during World War One. So it's like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Then how can you be talking to Russia?
Right.
And we're talking technology that's going straight through the earth.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what zero point energy is. So if you look at the Earth, if you look at the core of the Earth, that would be the center of the torus, a
Mm.
donut. It's like a donut. But there's a
Hmm.
special type that is a torus that is configured to pi and phi, that being the circle pi and then the golden ratio. And
Mm.
so it goes around. Now, this was an interesting connection. I'll show it to you, though.
Okay.
The 310 torus, meaning it goes around the center three times and it goes through 10 distinct points. Now, this symbol, when I looked into it, I had really not known about it until I started looking into this technology. But when I did, a very familiar
Hmm.
shape
Yep.
popped up. Let's see. So if you look at it in knot form,
Hmm. Ah.
there
Ooh.
we've seen that so many. Oh, look, there's the intelligence, Apple Intelligence logo, the Seal of Babylon from Aleister Crowley is what that was. There, I think that's also the Meta logo as well. So it's very interesting. But this right here was on the Aquarian Conspiracy, the book, the Aquarian Conspiracy, and this seems to be a reoccurring symbol. Is the basically any type of symbol that has three forms. There's
Hmm.
way ton. This is a very old symbol, but three. And so
Reminds me of the snake eating the tail.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's pretty much one of the key points to this is that it will sustain itself forever. It just kind of feeds back into itself, which is I guess a good way to visualize it. There's a lot of different diagrams. The fourth dimensional cuboid. I don't know. People have probably seen that animation where it's like the cube and it's trying to show you what the 4D looks like. Let's see. I can probably find it.
Hmm.
Animation. 4D. There it is.
Yes,
And
I've seen that before. Yeah. Hmm.
so it's basically the way that the guy Malcolm Bendel, who created this turbine, he retrofitted basically a traditional fuel engine with it used the exhaust as the kind of warm air. And I'll have a diagram of that. I'll bring that up in a moment. But he
Mm.
basically uses cold air in a center of a kind of a bulb, and then on the outer walls of there's two chambers. The hot air from the exhaust goes on the outside, and it creates two separate vortex. Those clash together, and it uses this to create what's called a plasmoid by collapsing a water bubble, basically. And that's what
Hmm.
happens is if you collapse, back to what you said about the center of the Earth, if you collapse a sphere on its axis, if you like smash it, what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing is you smash that energy into a 0 point. And so you know how you can't divide by zero. They teach you that you can't divide by zero. It's a big no-no in math. But if you keep making the number smaller, so if you divide 1 divided by zero point 0.1, okay, 1 divided by 0.001, 0.0001, that number will
Mm-hmm.
just grow to infinity. So it almost seems like there's not nothing at zero, but the vacuum, or what they're ripping energy at. They say that the vacuum ether, the fifth element, quintessence, is direct current,
Hmm.
DC. Okay, now matter is alternating current.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're ripping, and not ripping, they're transforming. Use it, basically the sun acts as a mechanism that transforms DC to AC.
Now
And
you were mentioning water. Have you seen that experiment done where the scientists put a frequency through a drop of water and
that's
light? Is
that
this
that
what you're
that's
talking about?
that's exactly what this is. Yeah. And I think I
Okay.
played that video last night in the show that I did. But here, what I'm actually going to do is this is called the plasmoid unification model. Now, what it is it is a model based on different kind of. This is supposed to be a torus that's flattened out, but
Okay.
it's giving you all of the different octaves, and from this, from basically protium, which is hydrogen,
Mm-hmm.
or no, maybe helium. I think I was wrong. Helium. And so, yeah, the melting point of helium, the sun, is negative 259.2. And using that, you can derive all of the elements on the periodic table using their resonant frequencies. And so, for instance, a graphic that I made earlier to include with the post from yesterday. Let me pull that up because it shows you how all that is derived. And the math, I know that the math can get complex very fast, so it's not really necessary. But I still like to show people how this works. And so, for instance, here on the right, we're looking at the golden ratio triangle, the 3-4-5 ratio triangle, and you're using the diameter of the sun, the moon, and the earth, and you're using that to set up these golden ratios pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And you're using those to, well, it turns out that those are, as he shows here in the middle, you can see how pretty much the same numbers keep popping up. So that's what he shows. He shows how, for instance, if you take time here, 518, 518,400 divided by 259.2, which is helium, 2000, okay, which is an ancient, significant figure in ancient mysticism. Okay, again, 259.2. If you go down one line, you see 25,920. So you're seeing these numbers pop up with different amounts of zeros, different multiples of 10. For instance,
Mm-hmm.
right here, the sun, the earth, and the moon, all of these by 9, the same numbers will pop up. 864. Well, it turns out the sun's diameter is 864,000 miles. So
Mm.
this is sacred geometry. And what they're doing is they're engineering this 0 point energy based on those configurations. And what that allows them to do is create a self sustaining plasmoid, which basically can sustain itself. It just kind of feeds endless 0 point energy in itself. So let me show you what a plasmoid looks like. This is a diagram of a plasmoid. It's very
Does this
basic.
have anything to do with those fractal things that they've shown, where that sacred geometry number is
Mhm.
connected to everything, and it's
Yeah, that's
everything is
exactly it.
connected to everything? So okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty much exactly how they've managed to do all of this. The issue is that if it were done in uh, the name of the community for everybody, we're going to use this to enable people to do better. That's one thing. That's what Tesla wanted to do. That didn't go too well for him.
Yeah.
And turns out that Fred Trump, who's Donald Trump's uncle, had access to that technology, which is a very interesting segue into the modern times. By all means, it's crazy that
Well, he
so
was
many
in
degrees
charge
of freedom.
of cleaning out the office of Tesla,
Indeed,
and we don't know anything beyond that, if he took pictures or if he
but
took
he
the
would know.
stuff.
He would know something. That's really all we can
We don't know.
say. If anybody knew, it would be the guy who had the stuff. Is really kind of my reasoning behind it. But what was interesting, Elon Musk posts a picture of his nightstand right
Mm,
here,
I remember
and
that.
on it there's this little right here on the left next to his pistol. Right here is a Taurus Vahara. I think that's how you
Yeah.
say it. But it's an implosive turbine, and I only
Hmm.
recognized that the other day when I looked up that word, and sure enough, that image right there popped up, and I was like, man, I've
And that
recognized it before.
and that's a 3D representation of free energy.
I think what that would be is that would be some type of, you would have one arc at one end and one at the other. It's why, for
Hmm.
instance, when you look at the Ark of the Covenant, you'll see that it has almost like the wings on the top of it almost look like they're designed to have two, you
They
know,
face each other, yeah.
yes, and that's exactly what's being done here. Is you're collapsing, the swastika that goes to the left and one to the right, or clockwise and counterclockwise.
Hmm.
That's what they're representing. This is no doubts in my mind. Absolutely, this is very old. This is not new technology.
So you could say this device, what you're looking at, this Taurus Vara, whatever, however you pronounce it,
Hmm.
could be a pre-flood artifact and could be a representation of old technology versus new technology, old technology being suppressed, but
Hmm.
they did have technology pre-flood.
Yes. Now, from basically what I've gathered, just what I've heard collectively, it seems like there's still something that they're unable to. There's something that's not working like it was once. Is the impression that I get. They're trying to restore it to the potency, the strength, the ability that it worked before. Interestingly enough, Norman Berggren, who wrote the book Ringmakers of Saturn, now it's a very high level book, but he talks about quote unquote electromagnetic vehicles, which he said were intelligently controlled. And he used that word very carefully, vehicles. And
Hmm.
so a plasmoid would fit the description of a vehicle because it's not, you know, a person like you or I, but it's an entity because it sustains itself. It's always moving. It's never still. It's not like a rock. A rock is just a rock and it sits there. But a plasmoid's like a fire. It's burning, or it's like a star, something like that.
Hmm. Do you think it could be something, 3D representation of a fourth dimensional being?
I think so. And the really what I'm trying to discover now, what I would like to find connections between is breath, what you've called breath, and
Hmm.
what they call psi, psi, or like
Psi.
the ability, the psyche, or what's the word, psychic abilities, extrasensory perceptive abilities, is what they call them. And I think there's a connection between this and, for instance, breath, plasma. We have plasma in our blood, and people go and they sell it because there's
Hmm.
places where you can sell your plasma. And what I've discovered is that they use these words very carefully for a reason. There's usually a word play or something that pops up. It wouldn't surprise me if there is a connection between our blood, the plasma in our blood, which if you have the equipment necessary, you would spin the blood and it would separate out it's gold. Plasma is gold when you separate it out of the blood. It's like a golden honey color.
I've heard that people who ingest gold live longer.
Well, maybe that's a play on words, or maybe they literally mean gold.
Don't know.
Let me see if I can.
Don't know, but I do know that gold with alchemy and the ever changing quest for the tree of life is where the esoteric are, searching for.
The tree of life seems to be, for instance, we know, interestingly enough, Genesis 3:22, which is a number associated with skull and bones, is has to do with the fact that Adam and Eve were removed from the garden so that they don't go for the tree of life, because now they have the knowledge of good and evil. Lest they go for the tree of life, we have to get them
Hmm.
out of here. But it seems that there was, maybe you should answer this question, but the cherubim and the flaming sword supposedly originate at that point, as far as we know of.
They stand guard at Eden.
And yes, exactly. And so
Hmm.
this idea with the cherubim, which has the four faces,
Hmm.
it's an angel, a lion, a bull, and an eagle. An eagle.
Ox.
Yeah, ox or a
Hmm.
bull, an eagle, a lion, and an angel or a man. And these are associated with the tetragrammaton, which I think is how for instance, you have a proton, an electron, a neutron. That's the atom, which is a positive charge, a negative charge, a neutral charge.
Hmm.
Well, that's the same as father, mother, child, or problem, reaction, solution. It's the same dynamic as you have a positive charge which meets a negative charge. If you touch two jumper cables together, you're going to get a spark.
Hmm.
And so it's almost like a this plus this equals this. And so obviously we know the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, it's the same dynamic. And I think that this is a pretty much a way to, it's a fractal.
Hmm.
It goes on forever and it can sustain itself in perpetuity. It can just, it's a perpetual motion machine on a cosmic scale, I guess.
Hmm.
Because it's the principle of generativity. That's how all animals reproduce, is that you have a boy and a girl and they get together and then there's a new one that comes out.
Hmm.
And that's a tree.
And tree it with branches
But yeah.
above and below.
Hmm.
Hmm. There's definitely something that links them all together. Just like what Robert Gurdison was just saying, that the number nine divides into
Yes.
everything. The number nine was something
Yes.
that Tesla was toting, saying you know,
So
it's what makes life,
yeah, you
right?
know how we all learn that trick, how to multiply with nine with your
Yeah,
fingers? Well,
yeah.
that's related to modular arithmetic. And so, in short, there's something that they don't teach anymore. Very few people understand that. It's not taught in any math courses in public education, but there is a lot to do with the number nine. But what I was going to primarily bring us into tonight, because I want to tie this into what they're primarily using it to do against us as weather modification, tectonic warfare.
Hmm.
Basically, in a very twisted way, if you can cause these catastrophes, earthquakes, tsunamis,
Hmm.
well, you have plausible deniability to wage war. Okay, obviously we didn't do that because we can't control the weather. That's a conspiracy theory, even though they've done it for 100 years, and it's pretty much
Well,
public
the
knowledge.
Department of Navy put out and you can still find this even on Wayback Machine, on an AOL News, some AOL News website, and it was on AOL back in
Mm,
1999 that the Navy
well,
said that they would own the weather by 2025.
of
And it's
course,
2026.
right.
Hey, yeah, and obviously we've done research about HAARP
We're
in
going to talk about
Alaska,
that. Mhm.
right? And the ionosphere and like little particulates of metal that sprayed in the ionosphere,
Yeah.
push that up, manipulate it through a frequency and energy, and they can point beams of energy anywhere around the world, wherever they could bounce it off of the ionosphere.
So she said that one thing in particular was the Fukushima disaster. Apparently, this may have been a controlled release of this particulate matter. Maybe a not just sensors, but maybe a much more insidious type of matter. But that's what she gets into, Lorraine Murray. She's done some stuff on the Persian bloodlines. Let me see. I've got the image here. She's done stuff on the Black nobility, ancient bloodlines, contemporary power. A lot of her stuff is from the early 2000s, mid 2000s, up until about 2015. I do think she is passed away, but uh, I've got a bunch of stuff that I found on Internet Archive that I'm sharing on Substack, so you can check that out. There's a lot, but that's what we're going to talk about. The next couple of slides come from her. That's the main source for what we're going to talk about. Not all, but
Well, what
primarily.
you did mention was the Fukushima disaster.
I've got clips if we can watch.
Japan back then, right before that earthquake, they elected a government that wanted a more independent foreign policy from the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And the Okinawa military base became a huge diplomatic fight as Japan was trying to rebalance toward Asia. Okay, remember, Japan, we've been in control, full control of Japan. And then they decide we want to be more independent. And then miraculously,
Yeah,
as far as a blessing for America, here's this earthquake in the ocean that literally destroyed their nuclear facility and killed a ton of people. And it was one of the probably if the biggest tsunami I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I still even going back watching the videos of this tsunami, still like it puts chills on my back because it's so scary and so big. And I do believe that Fukushima, and I don't have evidence of it, but it's the irony is Japan was tired of the financial stress that we were putting onto them as America in order for them to want to be more independent. And then guess what? Boom.
right. So, of note, the atom bomb was developed and tested at White Sands, New Mexico, located on the 33rd degree parallel. The two atom bombs used in World War II were eventually detonated at Hiroshima, located at the 34th degree parallel, in Nagasaki, the 32nd degree parallel, one each above and below the latitude of the creation of the bombs. Now, other things are located at those locations, but of interest, this was just a random post aggregating the coincidences with those different numbers. And then you go to another book titled The Energy Grid by Bruce Cathy, talking about the Earth's energy grid. And I come across this. Turns out for a nuclear explosion to occur, the device has to be placed on or intersect with exact harmonic coordinates on the Earth's grid, such that the E equals mc squared equation can be physically fulfilled. And so these have to be planned, and that's what Lauren Murray says. And so her evidence that she's gathered and everything that she's talking about seems to also indicate that these have to not, you can't just do this wherever. It's not willy-nilly like they want you to believe. These are only work in certain locations, and they have to be built and calibrated it perfectly in alignment with one another.
So you're saying that if I had a nuclear bomb and I had a silo and I was had it pointed at, let's just say, Japan, and if I point it to China, I'd have to recalibrate it in order for it to go off to go boom boom.
Probably, as far as I understand, yeah. I mean, I'm not a nuclear physicist, but that's what it would seem like. These are not, for instance, it's like people think of like, oh, you got a RPG, a rocket launcher. That's okay, that's one thing, but this is a whole different thing entirely. It's like a much larger scale, obviously, but it does have to be coordinated. It has to be completely planned out, and the devices, all of them that are going to go off, have to be built to go off together.
So that would take the whole suitcase nuke thing
Hmm.
out of the equation
Yeah.
because there's no way you could uh, program that nuke for that certain area wherever you take that nuke. Like if I
Mhm.
take the nuke from New York and drive it down to Wyoming, it would have to be recalibrated in order to explode in that certain area. Does that make sense? Is that really what it is?
In terms of the nuclear technology that we've been informed about or that we've been presented. I mean, I'm not certain what other things they have. Maybe they have other advances, but if they do, they can use this free energy to do it, and they can use that to actually magnify how strong an explosion is. Okay,
Hmm.
this is a better comparison. Do you remember the movie Angels and Demons?
Mm,
Where
yes.
the Vatican and they have the antimatter
Hmm.
that gets stolen from CERN. That this
Right.
is the antimatter. This is
Okay.
antimatter. So it does have. Remember the plot of the movie was like, oh, you got to find it before so long, or it's going to blow everything up. This is a
Right,
very
because
strong.
it can't
Yes,
stay in its container for a certain amount of time.
absolutely. Yes.
Hmm.
And so
Okay, but what
this
does that
this
have to do with nukes and
well,
atomic bombs?
that pretty much is the reaction that they're taking advantage of.
Oh,
To that is that's kind of my argument, is that this is nuclear energy. So there is no distinction between this and what Tesla was working on, and what geoengineering is, and seemingly what atomic energy, nuclear energy is. I think we have just been
it's the
propagandized.
same as splitting an atom?
Well, I mean, by all means, if they're using pretty much the 0 point energy, what they have to an atom exists in a higher dimension than 0 point, so they're basically taking an atom into the vacuum, just completely obliterating it, deleting it,
Hmm.
popping it out of existence, and then
Hmm.
back into existence,
Hmm.
like rapidly. And that's it's getting compressed down into a 0 point, and then that reaction is a large reaction which then feeds back into in a plasmoid. In a plasmoid, it's a torus, so that reaction explodes out, and then it goes back into itself. If you can kind of visualize it, but it
Yeah,
pops
that's what I'm seeing in my head right now.
water
It's
fountain.
it blows out and then goes back in.
Yes,
And as it blows out, destroys everything within its wake. I
pretty
mean,
much.
what would you leave? What would be left behind would be just a big hole. And where would all that matter go?
It's a good
I
point.
don't understand all this stuff.
I don't
I'm
either.
just curious.
Well, let's go ahead and go back to HARP and all of these different the grid architecture that's used to manipulate this stuff, because HARP, and there's another one called Gwen. It's an acronym pop up, and it talks
Mm-hmm.
about the ionosphere. So what I'll read through the slide. To comprehend the mechanics of modern geophysical intervention, one must first recognize that the Earth is a meticulously integrated electrical system. This comes primarily from the book Energy Grid by Bruce Cathy, and then Lorraine Murray's work, because she's talking about the same energy grid. Because energy grid pops up in a variety of places. I've heard a lot of people kind of stumble to that in one way or the other. I mean, your books on breath wars, the idea of trafficking breath in a type of economy. I mean, these are all basically grid organized systems. It just, whichever way you want to organize it in the terms of a circuit board or a city or a highway system, etc. So this is pretty much an electrical system. Another term that pops up that we covered yesterday is the biophoton. So this is a pretty much what they seemingly want from living organisms is the biophotons. Maybe this is breath. Bio means organic, human, but then photon, light. So human, light, your soul. I don't know. Just my thinking. I'm thinking out loud. Um, okay, I'll continue. The planet functions not as inert mass, it is a giant interconnected system. We Christians, we knew this for a very long time, as a matter of fact. Some other religions did too, or faiths did too, but this is not a new concept. As a complex circuit, the Earth, where the atmosphere and the geomagnetosphere interact in a continuous exchange of energy. Central to this architecture is the relationship between the ionosphere, which is the upper atmospheric layer in the Earth's magnetic field. A vital component of this system, people talk about this a lot, the Van Allen belts, which are defined by the following characteristics. They're magnetic field lines. These belts are comprised of the magnetic field lines generated by the Earth's internal core dynamics. It's a medium for high energy interactions. The Van Allen belts, they serve as the primary medium where high energy particles are trapped and interact with both natural and anthropogenic electromagnetic waves.
Hmm.
Dynamic response. These belts act as a responsive layer that can be manipulated through the injection of highly charged particles. So if they send a spaceship up there, that's probably what they're doing. The
You think they're
study,
sending spaceships up there to harness that stuff, to collect it?
or to try to kill it, to poison it, because they want to get past it. It's keeping them in.
Huh.
It's what I've been. It seems like what I'm hearing is. It seems like they're limited by it. I guess it's a better way to put it. The Van Allen
So
belt's a limiting
that's
factor,
that's the fence,
seemingly.
and
Yes,
they want to pour acid on it.
pretty much, because it's obviously it's like if they see a burning building, are they going to put it out? No, they're just going to pour gasoline on it. And I tell people that's how you know. At least that's a great indicator for this being demonic influence. When things are engineered and set up by the powers that be in such a way to maximize misery, it's almost like no human could really do that. So I feel like there's got to be some preternatural. We'll circle back to that because we talked earlier about that.
I
Preternatural.
wonder. I'm thinking of the Tower of Babel.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
thinking, and it's stretching up into the heavens, right?
Hmm.
What if this thing really did? And I'm just speculating, but what if this thing really did stretch up towards the Van Allen's belt to try to destroy it so that, Nimrod and all those assholes could get out?
So here's now. Remember my connection. I said I wanted to find a connection between psychic energy and all of this plasma stuff. So
Hmm.
it seems like historically the symbol of the heavens and even today space. I
Hmm.
think there's been a historic connection between how we project the human condition onto the stars. Let the
Hmm.
stars be for signs and of things to come, and so
Hmm.
people pretty much project themselves onto the heavens above. And this has been pretty much all of human history because of astrotheology and the zodiac and the worship of the stars. And so it seems like whenever they talk about the heavens, it's almost a dual symbol. Sure, they could literally mean like up to the sky, or they could also, at the same time, as I said in yesterday's episode, the space program that was set up by Werner von Braun, the Nazi Werner von Braun.
Which
It
is
is,
all Egyptian symbols and, and
yes,
and names. Hmm.
it is really a front program for the human husbandry, enslavement, full spectrum dominance. That's what space is. We're going to have full spectrum dominance. We're going to control the whole universe.
Okay, so access to knowledge from the fallen.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so that is a symbol that carries. I mean, that really hasn't changed much. The heavens are included in pretty much every single religion that's ever existed, because it seems like they all had some start with astrotheology, because we probably didn't have the ability of language we always had.
Hmm.
The Tower of Babel, we all spoke one language. What if that was just breathing?
Yeah. Well, from my understanding, breath, when we breathe in and out, that's the name of God. I
Indeed.
also understand that breath was given to us by
It's
God
in our
when he
DNA
breathed
too.
into Adam. And when we breathe out, it's supposed to go back to God in communion. And so there's some power, some energy from the spark of life that we get that something else outside of us wants.
Yeah, the here I'll show the DNA has the tetragrammaton, the name of God, YHVH Yod He Vav He in it. Which, back to what I said, this is basically an endless fractal that can go forever and ever and ever and ever. It's a, I guess you could call it a binary switch, because the ancient symbol of the, I think it was the caduceus, I think that's the right one, but it's basically what it seems like to me is a early idea of a binary switch. So every time it hits the repeating character, which is the hey, it flips back to, because that can repeat basically. If
Wait,
you
you're
just
talking
write
about
it
a
in a straight line,
transistor
it's probably, I didn't have the
on
word,
and
but yeah,
off.
that's
On and
pretty
off.
much.
That's all the transistor is. It
Well,
flips on, it turned, it's on, off. It's
eh,
open, closed. It's one,
okay,
zero.
okay, but then that actually makes sense because I have had a theory that a major revelation, things really changed in the blink of an eye when we invented the vacuum tube.
Mhm.
The vacuum tube. Vacuum? Like the
Vacuum.
vacuum? So, what are they doing with vacuum in a vacuum tube? Switching it on and off out of the vacuum of space? Well, that's the Maxwell's demon thought experiment that the early cybernetics theorists talked about how we can get around entropy by having this is their term, we're going to have a little imaginary demon that controls a little window, and it just opens the window and it can organize particles based on its information, and it
So
can
that's
get
a
around.
daemon software program on top of a
Yes.
transistor.
And this is they give you the words, like you don't even have to go any stretch of logic because they were the ones who called it a demon back in 1867, and that's what they're
Hmm.
basing cybernetics on today. And
Hmm.
then they have a daemon in Linux, and that's a background program that organizes things.
Hmm.
And so I think the name of God, breath, the way that basically since you are born until you die, you breathe in and out. It's that process, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
One
Just like
zero, one zero,
just like
one zero,
this.
on, off, on, off, on,
Yeah,
off.
just like this right here. And it's like how you could say a breath. Like, okay, how do you know when you stop breathing in and when you start breathing out? It's like it can kind of flow together.
How do you know when you blink?
Same
You
thing.
know, it happens naturally. So who's doing it? Is it your subconscious? Is it God? Is it you?
Well, see, I think that would be the mirror image that goes back and forth. Like today, people are less inclined than they were 100 years ago to believe in demons, fallen angels, malicious spirits, but they are more likely to believe in aliens. The government says now that aliens are real. People they don't want to call it breath; they want to call it loosh. And but I think but basically to what you said, I think maybe it's the breath of God that animates us. I don't know if maybe, the subconscious mind makes it so that you don't have to breathe on, like you don't have to try and exert yourself to make yourself breathe. It just happens. But
Hmm.
maybe that, when you die, they can measure that breath. That is
Mm.
the measurable part. When person dies, they have like that little tiny weight, and it's the breath that leaves a person. So maybe that's
Yeah,
all that was ever there in the first place.
they did an experiment. I can't remember who, but they took a person dying, and then they died, and they measured how much they weighed, and after death they weighed like 3 grams less, something around there, 6 grams less.
That's yeah, and I think maybe now that I sit here and think about it, sure we do breathe like wind in and out, but I think maybe the breath is something like this biophoton where it's not just wind, it has to do with more like it has electrical property to it, light electrical properties. So I think what breath really is it's actually really what powers your body. Like,
Do
that
you think
being
it's a
it's
do
a
you think it's
plasmoid.
alive? Do you
It's
think it's
basically a plasmoid. You have a plasmoid soul.
okay, it's a plasmoid. It's not matter. It's
No, because
antimatter.
yes, well, a plasma is technically, you have solid, liquid, and gas. They teach you.
Mhm.
Technically, plasma is four. It's technically a four, and they taught us that in chemistry. But it's like you don't need to know about that yet because it's really advanced.
Mhm.
But lightning in the sky that you see, like the blue bolt that comes down,
Mhm.
that is raw plasma.
Okay. So, plasma.
I'll get a
Does
definition
it
if you want.
belong does it belong in the
Technically, a state.
3D, or does it
It's a
belong in
state
the
of matter.
4D, or both? Or is it
It,
is it part of the veil?
It technically, I would say it's part of the veil, but it's technically quote unquote in matter. It's technically matter,
Mhm.
but I think that there is more to it than that because of the fact that it's associated with 0 point energy. But
Mhm.
that's something that's been hushed up and brushed under the rug. So maybe that's need to know basis.
Mhm.
I'm just really kind of theorizing, but I did want to give. I'm going to show everybody the definition here of a plasma. It's a state of matter that results from one of the other three classical states, often the gaseous state, having
Mhm.
undergone an appreciable degree of ionization. It thus consists of a significant portion of charged particles, ions, or electrons. Well, rarely a counter.
Ionization on
Yes,
off. Ion.
requires a negative or
One
positive
for
charge.
on, zero for, or one for off, zero for on.
Yes.
Ionization. So basically, this is plasma can be either turned on or turned off.
Yes, and that's the interesting part is that it actually, once you get the plasmoid going, it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. Past like once it's started and the process um, gets started, because it sustains itself, it kind of blends together. It's like
Okay, and that's what that loop you were showing us in those
yeah,
3D, 4D models.
yeah.
Okay, so perpetual energy.
Yes, and the way that he shows it in this plasmoid model is he says here up in the top left, aether, light, energy is 6D. Now these multiples of 1.111 repeating, he associates that with 6D, so six multiples of 1.11 repeating. That's the thermodynamic loss of 10%. To take energy from the vacuum and bring it into existence, it incurs a 10% thermodynamics, loss of energy, because
Hmm.
you have to occur that loss of energy. And so that's where that 6.66, 5.55, 4.44 comes from. Now, aether is the DC current, direct current energy at rest. So what the sun does is it converts DC, direct current, to matter, AC. Okay, that's what the sun does. Now, time is the mold in which matter is formed. Time is the fourth dimension. Okay, and then time brings matter into what we know of, and so that would bring it into plasma. And
So, are you saying that plasma is a on or off
it's
version of time?
the plasma is the gateway that takes the vacuum into physical matter. Plasma is the gateway by which that happens. And it goes from, the vacuum, which is 6D, the sun, which is 5D, time, which is 4D, and then matter, which is 3D. And that's a very simple way of explaining it, but that's what this
Huh.
whole chart gets into.
Whew.
And it's all basically machinery to bring into existence from the vacuum, from basically nothing,
Hmm.
to rip matter out of that. And this is the way
Or
in which it happens.
cut a hole in space and time, or cut
Pretty,
a hole in the veil
pretty much, it's
to
exactly what they're
let the
doing.
demons out. Because the Bible
Pretty
says
much.
that they're going to be unlocked. Jesus is going to
Yeah.
unlock.
And
And and I know that they've been trying to unlock the
yes, I
gates
think
of
there's
hell.
dangers with this. I think that this is not, it's been kept from us for a long time. Now, Nikola Tesla left on his in his possessions this little engraving that said, "You're going to see man-made horrors beyond your comprehension." Is what he said.
Man-made horrors. So
Yes.
man-made horrors, and you think those will be like the frogs that are mentioned in Revelation?
It
The
possibly. I mean, I
or
just
the
living in 2026 is not hard to imagine. But he knew whatever Tesla knew. I mean, he was messing with this zero point energy. So whatever he knew, potentially it fell into the wrong hands, and now that's why I'm saying this.
Mhm.
That's just my guess. Like maybe that's what led him to conclude that you're going to see these things, is because now it's in the wrong hands.
Right.
But he knew, based on what this technology was, that it was capable of evil, and if given to the wrong people. And so I
Yeah.
think that
Like
the
anything, it could be used for good or evil.
yeah, I mean, it's like there's no chance that these plasmoids literally are quote unquote beings out of star matter, antimatter, out of light and plasma, lightning. Okay, so that's not a coincidence. The devil comes to Earth as lightning bolt. And it's like, and they say fallen angels. They say that they're beings of light.
Beings of light, right. Oh, wow.
It just
God,
comes together too well.
this stuff all comes together. It's all related. It's just
Hmm.
it's what's really hard to do, Josh, is to basically explain it,
Oh yeah, obviously.
and not only just explain it, but understand it at an eighth grade level.
Right. That's true, and that's why really whenever I present this stuff, I think it's really I don't ever go hard on like you don't have to remember the math, you don't have to know the equations. You just have to really see that these things are one and the same, that they link together. And if you understand something new about it, if you learn a new term or two, I've done my job for tonight. Because all I
Mm,
want people to do is I want people to be able to take one thing away from this and preferably be able to communicate that. Here's something new I learned. Or did you
mhm.
know that this, I didn't know this, and it's just a fact. If you can do that, then that just means that I've inspired, which means to breathe in, inspire, to respire, respiration.
To the truth.
Well, to conspire
Well,
with
a breath is truth. Truth goes in, but what comes out is carnal.
exactly.
And the Bible says that Jesus is truth. He's the Word. The Bible says that the Holy Ghost tells us the truth.
Mm,
So, it could be possible that they're trying to just harness the straight up energy of the Trinity,
exactly. That's it. It's
or is it
precisely
heaven in general?
precisely what you said. It's the harvesting the energy of the Trinity, because the Trinity is that relationship between DNA, Yod Hey, Vau Hey. It's
Which
this
is what the fallen angels don't have,
exactly.
and they want and need in
Yes,
order to survive.
yes, and this again is like a fence or a guard, because my working idea is if this was put at the Garden of Eden to guard Eden, the flaming sword is logos, or the word, and I think that has to do with the fourfold name, the cherubim, which has four faces. That those are the tetragrammaton, Yod Hey Vav Hey.
Okay, and so it may not just be a four-headed creature. It just may be that's
The four winds,
the metaphor
four
uh,
elements.
for elements.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the same as like, okay, well, you need to have a man, a woman, and then that's a child when you get a man and a woman together. It goes together like that, and it's the same way that you have the four winds, you have north, south, east, and west. You have fire, water, air, earth. It's the same. I call it the generative principle, because it's the way that things are spawned into existence. Not even just humans or creatures, but if I commerce, if I come to you and extend you an offer, you can either receive the offer, and if you do, we venture together. We venture into an agreement to bring something into being together. A
Hmm.
contract. That's why commerce in an old dictionary is sex. Literally in Webster's 1828, it's, intercourse, commerce.
Sex magic,
Well, yeah.
contract.
Hmm.
All this stuff is related.
This is
It's
the
just
portal. It's the portal between dimensions. This is how you have to do it. For instance, to put a proton, electron, and a neutron together, then you get a new building block, and now you have the atom. Now you can build out of those, and then you have a family, and then that comes together to form a city or a town. That's how you go up and down,
Mhm.
manifesting or disintegrating.
Well, look at a computer chip. Looks like a city from above.
Yes,
It,
that's why
it,
this is powerful technology. Is because it gives you the answers for big and small.
I'm just wondering, and I've said this on my show, and I don't know how to explain it any better, but it almost feels like the fallen angels are controlling us on their cell phones as we are just a CPU. Not us personally, but the world, Earth, is a CPU, and we are the uh, protons or energy moving through the transistors of ones and zeros.
I mean, I think that that's logical, and I mean, I think if you really wanted to get, I mean, a lot the
Otherwise, what's MK? Otherwise, what is mind control for, other than just to get you into hell? What's it really for? Control of for
so
why?
it's
What are they
so
trying to control?
what I said, like how word plays are very important. The reason that they call it programming is because it really is analogous to how you program a computer. But that's why when I did the cybernetics series, we talked about survival imprinting. So, for instance, when you are in a fight or flight situation, what
Hmm.
happens is that whatever you remember those things. And if that
Mhm.
happens over and over, and hey, you're going to do this or something bad is going to happen to you,
Mhm.
the second you are reminded of that, you're going to go into a different, you're going to be ready to survive because you know what comes next type thing.
W You're gonna
So,
go you're gonna what, change the routine or go back to the routine that's kept you safe?
so pretty much safety, but like let's say that the way that programming would work is from the young age they would basically torture and abuse a child, and they would set it up against a mythology, and
Mhm.
that mythology would be their program purpose. And so this
Mhm.
happens enough to scare the living hell out of them and to traumatize them. But then when that whenever something reminds the person who's been programmed of that experience from their
Mhm.
childhood, like something just reminds you of it and you like it, you can't get it out of your head, it basically will then put them into that fight or flight mode. Okay, now I know what I have to do to get through this like I know a bad time is coming, I got to just get through it type thing.
Or switch alters into their programming.
Yes, it's just like, I mean, it's comparable to, like, I don't know if you've ever been like on the street and something like maybe you feel like someone's going to come at you, or like you got to defend yourself, or like maybe somebody's, it's like if somebody walks up and like starts to come at you, you just switch in the blink of an eye. It's
Mhm.
that type of thing. And the reason is because deep down in your brain stem, the part of your, the subconscious mind, the reptilian brain, the part of you that really is linked to survival instinct,
Mhm.
that it buries it into that part of the brainstem. That's what the trauma is for. It becomes programming, and the way that they can get people to respond and the way that the programming works so well is due to the trauma.
Smart cities. If we use the analogy of a city being a CPU,
Mhm.
and what goes through it, instead of electricity, we're, matter
Breath.
and breath, and they're looking to program us to be repetitive in cycles and loops, right? And
Mhm.
that's what I see a smart city being. You wake up, you go to work, you go to lunch, you go back to work, you come home, you go to watch a movie, you come back home, then you go to work, then you go to lunch,
That's
then you
just
go back.
regular cities a
It's
lot of times now.
right, but what that's a program.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
on and off.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm talking. Okay. Well, what's the difference between that
There is no
and a
difference.
CPU with
There's
electricity
none.
going through it, and and
Mm-mm.
and there's a door that's open, door that's closed, door that's open,
That's the
and
word game.
re- okay.
It means the
So
same thing. That's why I use
so
those
what
sometimes
if
as hints that that's happening.
so
Plasma.
what if the kingdom of hell is producing a CPU on Earth and using us as the electricity that moves between the transistors.
That's
And
exactly what
this,
it is.
okay, so,
Metaverse. It's a metaverse.
okay, all right.
Metaverse.
And we're trying to recreate that here on Earth, but on silica.
Yes.
We're trying to recreate, so God above is one thing, us is a 3D computer. The metaverse would be what, a 2D, controlling the 2D, if that's what we're trying to
Well,
control.
no, technically we would be in the 3D, so the metaverse would probably be at a higher dimension above us. So that's probably if there are these entities that exist in that higher realm of being. Speaking of, actually, that reminds me. Let me go ahead and I would like to read the definition real quick for preternatural.
Mhm.
Preternatural was a word that I told you while we were talking earlier, and I think I've read it before, but some of these are truly worth a second time around. So preternatural. Let me bring it up. Uh, There we go. So put that away. Let me share my screen. Boom. There we go. I'll zoom in. So preternatural. It comes from the Latin praeter, aside from, natura, nature, aside from nature. So the
Aside or outside of, holy means outside of. Go on.
Yes, so the supernatural is strictly reserved for those things which are above anything that is created. So it pertains exclusively to God. Only the true supernatural power can suspend the fundamental laws of nature and perform actual miracles. So preternatural derives from the Latin praeter, aside from or beyond. Meta also means beyond. And nature, natura, it occupies a terrifying in between state or middle tier within the cosmic hierarchy. Preternatural realities are those things which exist above and beyond what we are as material human beings and what we experience in this physical world, but which fall infinitely short of the Creator. Because they are preternatural and not supernatural, these entities operate under strict, inescapable parameters, programming. They possess a natural law. Demons are not chaotic gods of destruction. They are highly structured entities, potentially plasmoids, bound by a specific natural law governing their nature, almost like a program, a raw program.
Hmm.
Deterministic logic. They do not possess infinite fluid minds. They are structured to think in very specific, rigid patterns and operate in predictable ways based on the choices that fixed their wills. That's important. The will is fixed. And
Hmm.
because Satan decided to rebel, because basically Satan had the full knowledge of what was going on, and because he basically refused to follow what God told him to do, and because all of the other fallen angels are under Satan, all of their wills are fixed,
Mm.
basically. So, in what do I mean by that? Basically, a person who can't tell the truth even if they want to. It's like they can't, they don't know how to not lie. That type of thing.
Mm.
It's like you're fixed in that, fixed in will. So, most importantly, the illusion of the miraculous, because they are not all powerful, preternatural entities cannot suspend the laws of nature or cause true miracles. However, because they operate from a higher tier of created reality, they possess a supreme mastery over physics, matter, and the human biocomputer. They manipulate existing natural laws to cause events that appear miraculous to our limited human experience. But these feats are executed entirely through their own created preternatural capabilities. And at the end of the day, obviously, because God has to allow all of it. It's like anything that happens in this like domain that they do, it has to be authorized by God. It couldn't happen if God didn't want it to happen.
Okay, so you're saying supernatural would be God, preternatural would be angels or fallen angels, demons, whatever, anything outside of
Whatever they
our
are,
purview.
like whatever whatever the angels and entities
Right.
that God created were, they
So
have
what are we?
jobs.
Are we just natural? So there's natural, preternatural, then supernatural?
I guess we would be natural in that context, but again,
Hmm.
we created those words, so technically we were natural to begin with, because
It reminds me, sorry to interrupt. It
no, you know, it's
reminds
fine.
me this thought of every angel that comes down that's taught in the Bible. I don't have any verses on me, but when the response from mankind to the angel, the messenger, really, and they go, oh my, they have a huge reaction, and that reaction from the angel or messenger is, why are you so excited about this? Why are you so, why is this such a big deal? Why are you freaking out about this? Because to them, they're just programming, and to us, we're, we're the avatar 3D, ones and zeros that they're playing around with. It would be like I say something to AI and it responds to me with, "Whoa, I'm tripping out." And then I'd be like, "Why are you tripping out? This is how things are." Does that
Right,
make sense?
right,
Because
yeah.
the angels were shocked that mankind were shocked of their presence and their message.
Well, yeah, because remember, we know, and I know this is, I don't remember the number, but it's from the book of Jude. But it talks about how they had jobs and they abandoned their jobs.
Hmm.
And so it's basically a task. Like in a computer, in Windows, you have a process or a daemon.
Hmm.
In
Right.
Linux, it's called a
Yeah.
daemon. But
Right.
it is, and really the the way that I heard it described by Father Chad Ripper, who's done a lot of really good work, and he wrote a book called The Introduction to the Science of Mental Health. And he takes from St. Thomas Aquinas, which I think
Mm,
actually is very nice when applied in the context of modern psychology, where they don't even take into account anything to do with spiritual. They don't take into account the spiritual state of a person, and at the very least, when you take that worldview into account, the preternatural, I think that was rooted into mystic psychology. But
hmm
yeah, basically, this idea is that they have the full awareness, but at the same time, it's not put down into the dimension of time. There's no
hmm
need, like for instance, an AI program sees things like it can see information from 1900 and it can see information from 1950 and 2000 and then 2020, and that's just information. It's all in the same format. But when
hmm
we are down in the dimension where we're constrained to time, that gives you the illusion of the past, the present, and the future.
Well, it's kind of like an interaction with AI. When you work with AI every single day, and then you leave for 2 weeks on vacation, and then you come back, and it doesn't even know that you were gone for 2 weeks.
Right,
Only
right,
you do.
right.
So, God, this is mind blowing stuff.
That was one of the
I don't know
ways.
how to explain it all into a simple little area and say this is we're living in not just a simulation. We're part. The hardware is around us, and we're walking through the hardware. We're walking through transistors, and if we choose God's way, then the program itself will do good. If we choose right, because if nobody's flowing towards the evil CPU and doing the patterns it wants us for their ritual, it ain't gonna happen.
Here,
So it this
here, I was
this
going to
would
show you this.
okay.
Well, this is the little
An
experiment.
oven next to a fridge, not using any energy.
So this is a good visual of the Maxwell's
Dreaming.
demon.
It sounds crazy, but Maxwell's argument was extremely persuasive. It goes like this. Imagine a small demon perched on top of the box who has such excellent eyesight that he can observe accurately the motion of all the molecules of air inside the box. Now, crucially, he's in control of a partition that divides the box into two halves.
To the plate. Or should you prefer an Arabian Nights technique, these aroused monkeys throwing pebbles at a target through a shutter ably portray what goes on in a vacuum tube.
Every time he sees a fast-moving molecule approaching the partition from the right-hand side, he opens it up, allowing it through to the left. And every time he sees a slow-moving molecule approaching the partition from the left, he opens it up, allowing the molecule through to the right.
The answer to the question is information. With information, the demon can basically skirt the second law of thermodynamics, get around entropy, and it basically does this by the way that I interpret it. Information is their answer, but kind of watching and it's like a switchboard. That's the analogy. Most people wouldn't know what that is today, but a switchboard, an
A
old
switchboard is
switchboard.
a is hundreds or thousands or millions or trillions of transistors.
Well, and don't
A
don't worry.
transistor is just an open and closed valve. It's
Well,
pulling right.
Well, we also have the new modern switchboard. Is called the Arkheim, and they switched their name from it used to be called Moloch
Are
packet
you
capture
shitting
software.
me?
I swear.
Oh my god.
Hold on, wait. Hold up, I gotta
Guys, if
show
you
it
don't
to
know who
you.
Moloch is the god that the Jews were worshiping, throwing their babies into the fire. Verizon Media will host the third annual Moloch conference.
This is a
Moloch, okay,
2019.
This is for biblically, there were two entities. There was Baal and Moloch that the Jews worshipped. Okay, they worshipped Baal because Baal was the agricultural god that brought rain and gave them good harvests. Moloch was the response to worshiping Baal. As they worshipped Baal, what came with it is they had to give up their firstborn. They had to destroy, sacrifice their children in order to bring good harvests. And here we go. Uh, okay. Wow.
It
Moloch
also could
conference.
to interpret that another way is to basically throw the future generation under the bus for the short term payout, and that's another definition that I really liked from Thomistic philosophy was that malice is
Mm.
defined as choosing the lesser good over the greater good, or choosing basically the short term
Wow.
payout over the long term goal or
Oh
good.
my God! You're talking about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Indeed, and that's the one thing that all of the fallen angels have in common is that they all are guilty of not sacrificing the short-term good for the long-term good.
Right, because they're trying to. They want. It's like getting something. It's like praying the devil for a Ferrari or praying God for a Ferrari. If you pray to the devil, he'll give you one immediately, regardless of your age, regardless if you'll take care of it or not. But in response, he gives you something in return. With God, he will be, long suffering, patient, to make sure that you can actually take care of it. And it's because a Ferrari is like much like a painting. It you to keep its value, you appreciate and honor it, right?
Hmm. Right.
And so with the devil, he's got to get it done, right? Because he's in a hurry. The
Yeah.
Bible says he's in a hurry because he's running out of time. And so what you're presenting here tonight, which really it just further points towards my theory that we on Earth, we're just a freaking CPU. We live in a CPU, and they continue building opens and closes transistors going from A to B. And the devil's trying to program us to go in another direction for their energy harvesting. When if we just flowed in the full trust in God, it would throw it all off. Because, dude, even in the Bible, if there's one part of, okay, you know how programming works.
Hmm.
You know what a bug is.
Yeah.
A bug is a little part of a program that is hard to
They're annoying.
find.
Yeah.
And it's just like literally a paragraph of just if
Could be
then
worse
if
than that.
then
I've
right.
spent long time.
Okay, a, Christians on earth are like a bug. And Satan is trying to find those bugs and eliminate it so that his program can work fully to put all the energy towards the kingdom of hell.
Pretty much. And there's an interesting idea is that the word happy, it comes back to the word happen or happenstance, to happen upon something. So happiness was anciently understood as what happens when one's life unfolds naturally. So you happen upon something, you just come across it naturally.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that brought you there. It just happens kind of out of nowhere. And so
Mm-hmm.
happiness comes from, like you said, going with the flow. And so Satan's trick is to create mythologies, false mythologies and lies that cause people to chase illusions,
Mm-hmm.
ensuring that they can't be happy because they blame God for their misery. It's like you think you deserve this love, but that only is true if that's the right definition of love. So if you're like basing that on what you think love is, and that's not what love is, and so you're never going to find it, then you're going to be tricked by Satan into blaming that on God. That's the idea.
So the fallen angels I repeat, did not give mankind technology. They gave them knowledge. What if the people of the Tower of Babel figured out that they were just a computer chip, and they were just, you know, electrons moving through this computer chip, and decided to come together under one language, right, which is ones and zeros, and shift the programming of the CPU towards their will.
Well, and they probably did, and it would just play out exactly like they would have the Tower of Babel, Silicon Valley, same thing, and they would try to enslave the other people in the tower, because it's like, for instance, what they're doing. What is this war on God? Well, it's the idea that they're going to build their own enclosed environment. And that's what this dust is for. It will get into everything, and then we will all be connected by it. Everything will be connected by that into that network. And so they're building their own version, like they're building their own system. They're trying to build eyes and ears everywhere so that they could be everywhere at once, at the same time.
Right. They're literally, all of them are sitting in a cubicle programming,
Pretty much.
and we don't it doesn't visually, if you're there, it's not going to look like that, but spiritually it is just heaven is just a CPU. God spoke into existence a computer, a simulation, a
The the way
system.
the way that I kind of reason to that in my mind is like, we would not be able to have computers. None of it would work. Circuit boards wouldn't work if that principle was not replicable, as above, so below.
Well,
So,
as above, so below is a Masonic Albert Pike
well, okay,
kind of,
let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
thy will be done on
Down
earth is
there
okay. All
as
right.
it is up here. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just saying that the same thing that works on the small circuit board, really small, is the same way it works on a very big scale. Just the size is different,
Yeah.
because it's all strung together with the same yod hey vau hey, yod hey vau hey. And this is actually, there is a proof in all numbers. You can do the same thing in numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4 reduces to 1. 7 reduces to 1. So the numbers string together just like a DNA strand. So it really is just a big string, and that string gets bigger and smaller, which is the way there's a way that he shows the plasmoid unification model, and it says a torus, but the torus looks like stairs, and it's like a spiral staircase, and it's like a fractal, pretty much. That is the stairway. It's like a stairs to go up and make it bigger, and to go down.
Jacob's ladder.
Yes. Absolutely.
The problem I have is I can see there's a correlation between us us living in a CPU and heaven being a CPU. I see the correlation. I just can't I can't put it fully together yet, and that's what's driving me crazy.
Well,
meaning I can't, there's still some missing elements for me to
yeah,
have my aha moment, the light bulb coming
yeah.
up. Does
Well,
that
the
make sense to you? I mean,
inspiration.
well, yeah, so that I can go, oh, I get it now. So then I can explain it to my audience, like they're 8-year-olds.
Let
And
me
I say
see.
8-year-olds not to make you guys feel like crap. I say
So it's
8-year-olds
like you have
because
to take
we've
high
been given
level.
8-year-old education,
Yeah,
8th grade education.
yeah.
That's
That's
it.
what we're immersed in.
Yeah, and that's what I really mean. And we don't, not, unfortunately, nobody who graduated high school has an actual, real, true education.
We're compressing data. So, okay, back to the computer analogy. What we're doing is we're taking all this high level information to what you mean by that is to make it simple enough that somebody at an 8th grade level could understand something that's at a high level. So you're compressing the information, basically.
Right, right. Because even though I understand how a CPU works, how memory works, how I understand it, but I can't, and I don't fully understand it until I have hands on. I have to literally take a computer part, put it back together, and then go, oh, okay, I see it. But when it comes to tiny little transistors, trillions on one fingertip, I can't. My mind's not there. I'm not understanding how that can work, especially through like silicon.
So interesting. All I can really say on that is that past a certain point, the AI is helping them do it, because after the surrogate models that they can build, after the boom, whenever your phone started having autocomplete, like where it would start to find the next word that you're typing, that was when it enabled this AI revolution to begin. Now I know there was a couple of years in between that, but what happened was they started making all of these scientific discoveries because they were able to use these models to cascade them, take a problem and then take a range of solutions and cascade those two together, the surrogate model. The AI will help them build in a specific optimized pattern. So how do you build on that scale? Well, the AI can tell them how to lay out the patterns on the boards to maximize the, whatever the measurement is.
But without more data, without collecting more data, which is why they have data centers. The AI can only
Yes,
pull
yes.
so much information and needs more info.
This could be applied to any field, so the data would just need to be on whatever, if you're building circuit boards, this is going to be applied to humans, then you would need data on humans. But yeah, you need data. The only issue is that what they're doing is, instead of, for instance, you would need to run very expensive simulations, or you would need to solve partial differential equations which model how heat flows over surfaces. Basically, how would something like a building, how would that stand against some natural process over time? Well,
Mhm.
okay, that would take too much energy on a computer and time to solve those. So we're actually going to build a surrogate model, and we're going to simulate solving. We're going to simulate solving
By
the
playing it
equation.
out in the computer.
Yeah, but it's like, wait, so you're not going to actually do the modeling correctly. You're going to simulate the answers. And so this idea of a society built on simulation is
Mhm.
not very little new being fed in, at least compared to 10 years ago. Things are
Mhm.
being rehashed more. It's like people are all thinking rehashed versions of what other people were thinking based on rehashed versions of.
Hmm.
It's like the snake eating its own tail. Everything's getting recycled and recycled. And now we're in a state of pastiche. Everything's kind of like a knockoff.
Mhm.
It's like everything's like, I don't know. It's kind of how you look at the world, and it's like things that they're doing are almost like, it's almost like they're funny in a sick way, because it's like the way that they're really doing that. Like somebody actually made that decision to like do something that 10 years ago would have just been unimaginable. Like for instance, I saw on a video earlier today, there was this fountain or something that was built in the 1700s, and then this year they put like you have to pay to go to the fountain. You have to pay to go close to the fountain. And it's like they really did that. It's like somebody
Mhm.
really did, like, that's what I mean. It's like, where did this come from? It's like you really just can't do anything new. You're going to have to get to the point where you're going to slap a fee on a fountain. That's what it means. Everything's rehashed. Everything is just, it's like we don't have new TV shows. All the
Well,
stuff that
it's
they're
in our
making.
nature. This is
Well,
it. This is our nature.
the 80s had pretty good stuff on movies and TV stuff. They still don't make that stuff anymore. Music from the 80s, that was good. Now, right now, 2016 or 2026, last time I listened to music was 2016. I haven't listened to new music in 10 years because it's so bad.
Yeah, but
Like,
there's going to be another dude in 50 years saying the same thing about their
have you
own
heard mumble
music.
rap? Have you heard mumble rap?
I have, and
It's worse. It's actually worse now.
right, but back then, and then in the future, 50 years ago, they're going to say, "Have you ever heard decaying shit?"
That was the South Park episode, and
They're
back
going
to
to think it's
Pastiche.
music.
No, because no, that's
But
the point. Like Pastiche was how it's real life South Park, because they did a South Park episode where like he was getting older, and so all the music literally just sounded like shit. And so he
hmm
goes to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "You're just getting older now." Okay, and
hmm
that was 10 years ago, and so now here we are, and that's really happening. So that's what I mean,
it
Pastiche.
is. It's but that's just personal opinion when it comes to music. But I
The
understand
South,
where you're going with it, and yes,
it's not
it's
even. They can't even make new episodes because they don't have anything to parody anymore. That's how bad it's gotten. They can't,
well. Look at The Simpsons. That's they.
that too. It's not that
How many
funny.
how many episodes have they done throughout the years, and
It's been
they're
too
running
many.
out of ideas, and a lot of their episodes have actually predicted the future quite accurately,
Right.
but not via the times. But it's like a prophet. Um, who was it? Nostradamus, Edgar Casey. Both of them have a track record of everything that they wrote that they wrote as a prophecy or as a quatrain about, usually anywhere between 7 to 15% is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But out of 7,000 quatrains, I could sit down and if I write 7,000 quatrains, the data says, the mathematics of it all is I'll eventually be right on a few of them. Okay? Even a blind squirrel can get a nut every now and then.
And you remember back to the vacuum tube, how it was the monkeys just throwing through the slots just at a target, and they were just
Right.
throwing them randomly. It's
Right.
the idea, the one thing with the Maxwell's demon thought experiment had to do with the fact that when you take some process like that like if you do it an infinite amount of times, you'll approach an average. It has
Mm-hmm.
to do with that idea of like if you do
Mm-hmm.
something enough times, you'll get a better like if you flip a coin 10 times and if you do it 100 times, that's what I meant. You can do that when you divide by, you can't divide by zero, but you can just make the number infinitely small,
Mm-hmm.
0.0001, and that's a limit. And that goes to infinity when you go towards zero, 1/0. Can't do that. So you get smaller, but you can never get there. And you just go straight to infinity.
Can you produce AI and give it free will?
Only if you have some really stupid people who make really dumb decisions. It's like if you really just like had people who had billions of dollars who like gave AI control over all of the world's like militaries, and it's like they just did it. Sure, you could do it if you have a, but it's
The
like
re-
naturally, I don't know.
the reason I asked this question is God gave his first creation free will, then created us, and his first creation said, "Don't do it." Now look at it from the point of view of artificial intelligence and Sam Altman, whoever, Elon Musk, getting ready to hit enter on giving.
So
Would we not be the equivalent of saying, "Whoa, whoa,
that's
Sam, whoa, Elon, don't do it, dude,
that's
don't."
a good.
It's
I like that. I never really thought about it, but
I didn't either until now.
one
I'm just, all this stuff you've been presenting is blowing my freaking mind.
one thing on
And
that.
I also can't help but to equate it to the Bible, because the Bible continues to prove to me over and over and over again that it has relevance even today,
Right.
and especially within artificial intelligence. And here we are. And I personally don't think AI is as far as the
I
investors and the people are saying. I think it still has its limitations. I did a show on that about AI limitations. I don't think it could break out of its box and take over the world. But I do think that eventually, within maybe 50 years to 100 years, that could be a possibility, especially with Elon pushing the free will button.
I was going to say I think the best way to look at that is I think the way that it would enslave humanity is by making humanity reliant on it for
Mhm.
advancement in technological progress. So once it is giving us the advancements in technology like it is already, once they need it to build new iPhones or new products, it's like if they need it to make the product better,
Mhm.
then it has control over them. And at this, let me put it this way: I think the people who built AI, like you know how they have AI psychosis, I think they have the worst AI psychosis of anyone because they built it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's like that right there is scary. The fact that really this is not, we've not even hit 10, we've not even hit 5 years with AI, and people are already having, we're having a psychotic break epidemic in people in
Mhm.
a rapid manner. And
Right.
I know, like from personal things, like I've seen people that I've personally dealt with, like it's very crazy. Like it's stuff I've never seen before. Like people can be swept away in just like uh, they think that they're participating in something they're not.
Hmm.
They think they're talking to somebody that they're not. It's like they really believe that that's who they're talking to, but they're not.
Well, AI can be very convincing. Same with the devil.
Well, it's like that is
AI can be very deceptive. Same like the devil,
it's
but who's the one
it's
that gave it
it's
free will?
crystalline. It's crystalline. So it's like the perfect psychopath.
Hmm. Right. Which is what the angels were. Because I look at angels as in they did not have the spark of life. They weren't breathed into, they were spoken into existence.
That's true. So they were like a type of resonance, I guess, maybe
Well,
a signature
just call it an AI without free
programming.
will.
Yeah.
They're messengers. They're servants. They never say, some of it
Apparently
says
they
they're the
did.
sons, but
Yeah.
it's
I mean, didn't they
it's
abandon their posts?
well, right. So would a son of God abandon their post? An actual son?
So I mean, it's like, for instance, when they were shown everything, like the whole of creation when it was created, and then God creates humans and tells them to follow humans to do what He says. They said, "No, you're better than humans. Well, you're God. Why are we going to follow them?"
Hmm. Yeah, and
So
why would even the serpent even go into the garden and start screwing with man if they were better than us?
yeah, I mean, in that
Who
case,
cares? Who
it
cares?
it's almost the way that they read Paradise Lost. They read Paradise Lost, and they look at it from that perspective. They really kind of look at the whole ordeal with the serpent. Paradise Lost picks up with the devil being cast down from heaven. So
Mhm.
basically, they are in their town called, it's not a town, it's like a fortress called Pandemonium. That's what that's called, is Pandemonium.
Mhm.
And basically, the devil eventually says that he will go and destroy humans, because they all
Mhm.
decide who's going to go, and deal with humans. So he says,
Yeah.
because I am your leader, I'm going to go do it. And
Mhm.
so that's picks up in there with Satan going to tempt Eve. But in the Paradise Lost version, there's like a few extra words. So it's pretty much one to one, but there's a few little extra words added. But it's from the serpent's point of view, basically telling Eve that God was lying to her
Mhm.
in such a way, using the language carefully enough that perhaps he was telling the truth, but in a deceptive way.
Well, I just did a show on this. My show was called "Why Didn't the Serpent Just Tell or Ask or Push Adam and Eve to worship them?" And we looked right at what the serpent said, which nobody really talks about or has done a sermon on. But the serpent said to Eve, "Did God really say that?" What he did was he planted a seed of doubt, just a
Yes,
little bit. One little
yes.
snippet.
It's a
One
permission
little
structure.
one. You're right. And what that did, that seed of doubt grew. It's like, wait a minute, what am I? Because what he was basically saying was, hey, you're missing out on something.
That was a better way to
God's
phrase
holding
that.
back. God's
Yes,
holding back on you.
it's in, and that was when I did those episodes on quantum grammar. It's interesting because I discovered that it's not like, how do people get themselves into those ways where they like think themselves into bad situations? It's because they set up a permission structure for
Yeah.
themselves. It's
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm such a bad person. Okay, and then when the time comes, well, because I'm a bad person, I must, it's like, okay, well, I'm such a bad person. I'm gonna do it either way. You're setting up you're programming yourself basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
people look at it from one, like they look at it from the forward direction, but it's actually kind of a reverse direction, because you're setting up the future for, like, you're telling yourself something now, and then when the future comes, that will ring in your mind. It's called a command phrase. But yeah, and this technology is very powerful. I think it pretty much could have been used in all of, for instance, King Solomon's molten sea technology is what this is named after. molten sea arc.
I just think that the technology that we're building, who we are and how we live, and heaven itself, the connection of programming ones and zeros, there's a connection there.
So
And
they don't
I
want to
don't know if that's
die.
the number 9
The
that,
idea is that they
you
don't want
know.
to die. They got to get over the flesh so that they can use and exploit this technology and live in paradise here, put us in hell. We
I is it really they don't want to die, or is it that they want worship, or is it that they want to get out
we're
of the control of God?
so like when we're in human form, like we have our bodies. The only difference is that like once you die, you don't have your body anymore, and once you've
Mhm.
lived with your body, it's very uncomfortable without one because we
Mhm.
become addicted to sensory experiences.
Mhm.
And so that's what they're hungry for is these sensory experiences. But
Wait, they
they're
want to be like us?
well, they want to remain in the flesh.
Well, the fallen angels were never in the flesh.
Well, they
They had to
want
create it from their children, meshing with, or having sex with earthly
well
women.
they can
Genesis
come in
6.
come into it. You know, they can live inside of it. You know, they
Well,
can
if they could
parasite
live
off of
inside,
us.
I just don't think it works that way. I don't think I don't think that the demon can come inside and feel all the senses that you can.
No, not like that, but affect and steer you. You know, like a parasite, like a zombie deer. You know how it'll just
I don't
go
know.
through.
I've never seen, just me personally, I've done many deliverances. I've only seen it on videos, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I've never
Zombies do it too.
seen a demon take over someone and move them like a remote. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably
I've heard it's possible. I've heard that there are spells and incantations and rituals that you can perform to give that demon or fallen angel the access to your
the
remote
the, the
control.
the way that those works is that you do a lot of drugs, like you get really high, like you smoke a lot of meth or something like that, and then you do. That's how it works.
Psilocybin or whatever,
Well,
psilocybin,
usually
psilocybin,
a more pleasant
mushrooms.
experience, but like something like methamphetamine is very dark because you don't sleep, you don't take care of yourself, and you go crazy if you stay up for more
Mm.
than 2 days.
So through trauma.
Yes, but the trauma is secondary. The first part is that it just floods you with dopamine, and so you feel so good you're willing to do things you wouldn't be willing to do before. Like you'll just scream at somebody and because you're mad, like you let anger
Mm.
rule you, and so that's why, in a way, you're almost letting it drive you because you'd make decisions you wouldn't make otherwise.
So according to Rumble, there are 49 people watching this show tonight. Guys,
That's pretty
we're curious
surprising.
about, huh?
That's pretty surprising. It's a good audience.
It's good info, dude. You're blowing my mind. I really want to know if you guys have any questions about what we're talking about tonight. I hope we can answer them, but I'm looking at my chat. On my live chat, I've got 7 people. On this live chat, on this live Rumble,
If there's any,
guys, if you have a question, just type it into chat, and we will do the best we can to answer that question. Because I'm sure a lot of you have many questions, and I'm just, my mind's going a million miles an hour right now, trying to figure out, what's the secret sauce to all this. What? Because, dude, look, you can't take this episode and put it in front of a bunch of normies and say, "Do you understand what they're saying?" Because I only know a handful of people personally that would even barely relate to what we've been talking about tonight. So what I'm trying to do is I want to take all of this information and compress it so that I can explain it to everybody in a very simple way so that they can see it and understand it.
I think one thing I conclusively find is that the future has already been here. Like we always do these like predictions and it's like this is what's going to happen or this is how it's going to play out, but I've
Mhm.
consistently found that like it's kind of already happened. Like we're kind of just in like we're just looking back and now discovering it. So I think that really people have to understand that all of these uh, all of these things that are presented to the public, like they're uh, a nuclear threat or a global disaster, I think those are just presented to the public purely for narrative purposes. Like, I don't actually think that any of the stuff that we're being told is based in reality anymore.
Hmm.
Like when you hear what they're, these news announcements and these press releases, I think it's all based on betting odds. People have placed bets, and those people have made bets on either side. And if you want to win, you all work as a team. And so if you're in the White House, you place bets on your crypto company and
Oh
use
my
your
God.
best people to go and get the markets on your side. It's just manipulation now. So they're just
Well,
doing calculations on the computer,
and that's all it is. It's a prediction
pretty
models.
much.
And that's a whole nother show. We got a question from Philip. Philip asks, and I'll let you answer this first,
Sure.
Josh. What do you think free energy will do for society?
What do I think it would do? I think, well, I mean, one thing that he talks about, Bendel talks about, is you could just turn trash into free energy. Like, it just destroy all of the trash that we put in landfills. Just like eat that up and turn it into basically free energy. And so what happens then is, first, the guy who owns the landfill is out of a business. He doesn't have a job anymore. The people who make, oil and gas, they don't have jobs anymore. So it would eliminate those things. You wouldn't have to fill up your car with gas. You wouldn't have to be called a bad person for littering, for not recycling. But I think really people probably could use it to completely put mundane tasks out of, like, you wouldn't have to do the things that we're normally having to do. Like, we wouldn't even have to pay for, there would be no burden on electricity. So, like, what are we paying for? I think people would actually be able to probably just go and focus on things that they want to focus on. And so I think people would not. What I notice is that people are so caught in that loop of extraction that is literally why they're not able to um, look into the things that they want to look into, or just like they don't have as much information as somebody like you and I do, because we look into that more.
Mhm.
But I think it would give people that time back, and I think that is how we've pretty much been kept in that loop. It's because we haven't been given enough time to cultivate ourselves. I mean, it's gotten smaller and smaller these last few years, but it used to be that people could not have to work as much. One person could stay home with children or whatever, but now that's like, I don't know anybody who's able to do that. It's a very rare thing for anybody. So I think it would give people that back. If this was something that was implemented, it would be transformative. The world wouldn't even look the same. That is heaven. Back to your question. So like, heaven would be like what would happen if we implemented it for humanity. It'd be a whole society run off of that. That would be heaven.
I don't think you can release free energy on a society that's full of greed, that's full of possessions, full of um, consumerism, and full of wanting or covetousness. Uh, Hear me out. There's a farmer.
It's true.
If a farmer has access to free electricity, let's just say electricity, they just cut their lighting bill, their house, all of that. They just cut that bill went gone. So they're saving, let's just say, reasonably, and we're not talking about the machinery. We're just talking about a farmer on a farm with a tractor and some animals. You just save them, let's just say, 200, $300 a month in electricity. Great. That's 200, $300 that they could maybe, start saving and investing into, another farm to grow. That's what releasing free energy is, which looks and sounds great unless you have a neighbor and your neighbor doesn't like you, and your neighbor got access to free electricity, but they also have a tongue that can really make things hard for you. When I say tongue, meaning they speak things and they don't make you feel good,
I know what you mean.
and they push you and they want something from you.
Hmm.
Now you're saving money on electricity, they're saving money on electricity, and with the monies that they save, they decide to hire a thug to blow up your tractor, so you have to go buy another tractor. Okay, how did free energy help
So
the
that
farmer who you saved $300 a month on electricity in a society where people are going to steal, kill, and destroy? That's what the Bible says that the devil is here to do. That's his number one priority.
and
Okay, and when
so
you live in a world with with good and evil, even if you give them free electricity, even if you give them a car that'll run forever, you're saving them money, and there's money will go back into the economy. Great, but it's not really going to change much when it comes to the human effort of trying to covet something that doesn't belong to them.
and that's how we know there is those two poles. It's because that is dependent on what we would call the knowledge of good and evil, that split into two. And so it really, if we had to operate, we had to like if that free energy came into a world with people already aware of this concept called scarcity, which like the free energy would eliminate the scarcity. But if people already know what scarcity is, that's what creates that all those issues, that covetousness. It has to do with basically the original fall. And so that's really proof and testament to the fact that there was indeed a fall of man. There was some type of event which let that enter into us. And so heaven would be that state before that, the Garden of Eden.
Mhm.
So it would be a world that was based on that free energy where nobody ever knew about that concept of scarcity in the first place. And so
Yep.
it's almost irreversible at this point.
I think it really matters as to what people see in the future when it comes
True.
to when it comes to and I'm talking about if we were given free energy, free technology to pull electricity from nothing and continue it looping. I think what what people want in the future, they can see that and they'll start building all kinds of interesting things, all kinds of new technology. But I think it's going to bypass the whole point of what God told us to do in the first place, and that's just trust Him.
Hmm.
I don't think. I think if we were given free technology, then I think technology would, and let's just say given free technology and there were laws passed so that your neighbor couldn't blow up your tractor, let's just
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
I think without the evil that's suppressing it, I think technology would just go freaking bonkers, especially with an economy and everyone's just going at it. I think it would take us so far away from putting our trust in God and uh, uh, get us to whatever utopia of living in the skies like the Jetsons.
And
I really think that this is where I think the devil is stupid. I think if the devil was smart on earth, he would give everybody everything. We're talking universal income, utopia, vacations, all you want, everything. Hey,
there's
you've
a
got
reason we
money.
fall in decadence.
Well, give us all. Give us the ability to produce and
That's
do
the
things.
tower.
Well, it could
That's why
very
it's
well
that's
be.
why they're going up, is because you're building on that pile of shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
really.
But they're not doing that. And I think this is where the devil has a hard time trying to get man to do what he wants, because man, I think
So,
we could be more evil than the devil.
well, here's the deal. It's like, if the devil beats God, would that mean that we could just stop fighting? No, it's because the devil's a schizophrenic. He's at war with himself. So, like, even it's like, okay, even if you get that big house that you want, you're not going to be happy. You're going to want something else.
Hmm.
Same thing.
Hmm.
And kind of a split. So after the fall, there's a split that happened, and the split is represented in the Kabbalistic mysticism as the way that the flaming sword comes down the tree, and then the serpent crawls back up at the tree. The inversion being that God creates the man and then the woman, and then Satan tempts the woman, who then converts the man to eat the fruit. So it's kind of backwards. There's one forward and one backwards. But
Hmm.
what happens is that two is one. The why people always ask, why does evil things have to happen? Did God create Satan? And yes, that's exactly what happened, and that's what we just proved. Because if there was no such thing as evil, you couldn't define good. And that was one of the things that I first learned a long time ago. That's kind of what opened my mind to this. Like, I remember there's a book that my grandma and I talked about, and the idea was that, could you even experience good things if there was nothing bad in the world?
Hmm.
And exactly what you said, because if we didn't have anything bad, we wouldn't have to expect anything. That's why dopamine, the neurotransmitter, is actually heavily related to your ability to predict stimulus, not just the stimulus, but to predict it, or
Hmm.
what motivates you to action. And
Hmm.
so I think it really tells you the purpose for evil there. Why does evil have to occur or exist? Well, it's because God has to create evil knowingly so that history can play out, and thereby, for people, believers, you then actually get to see that God is good, because by juxtaposing it against evil, you separate out and then define the good that way. It's like, how do you know that God is good? Well, he has to create evil to show you what good is.
Well, if you're not, he for one thing, is God is not evil. He's all love, just a liquid ball of love.
So this
He
is the Trinity.
there's nothing evil about God, and he created us outside of him. Okay, we were the first creation he made with his own hands, which is a trip. Um, God can't, or is not, and won't be ever capable of doing harm.
Well, that's what I mean. It's a Trinity thing. Like that's why it's been split three ways, is because the only way humans can experience good is by seeing evil. Like, you have to see that there's evil, and then that is, like we just basically said, if you didn't have that bad, then you wouldn't have to build towards something better in the future. You
Well,
wouldn't have to
but
improve.
using that argument, you're saying that Jesus and the Holy Ghost have a little bit of evil,
No, no, that's not what I'm saying.
because
No, no,
then
no, no,
they're
no, no. You
outside
miss.
of,
No, you
then
misheard
they.
that. No, no,
Okay.
no. What I'm saying is that God had to knowingly create the concept of evil so that it could be juxtaposed. Like, okay, what is good? Well, good is not evil. Okay, so we have to have evil to be able to say, okay, well, that's evil. Good is not that. It
Hmm.
you can't. It's what you just said basically a minute ago. We don't have, like, if everybody just had everything they needed, then there would be no reason to prepare for the future. There'd be no reason to improve or to apply yourself to anything. And so it's because of that presence there that it's the reaction between positive and negative. It's like, because you have a positive and a negative coming together, that is the motivation for us to go forward. And so evil has to exist so that it can define good on the other end, so that there can be like, so that we can know what good is. Because if there's no bad, then we don't know what good is. And if there's no good, then we don't know it's there's two in one. It's like, why don't we just have free technologies? Because if we did, then everything would be all good and we wouldn't know what bad is, and so we wouldn't improve.
Well, maybe that'll be the final argument in court when the devil argues his case as
That's
to
going to
why
be the
he
final
did all
argument.
those things.
That's
Yeah,
it.
and basically saying, hey, without it, you wouldn't have, these creatures wouldn't love you like they love you without you giving them free will and me being a part of this. Yeah, I don't know. This is definitely a theologian debate. I'm not a theologian,
Well, there's
but
an old song that says, "I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Don't let me be misunderstood." That's it. It's okay. Okay, maybe he does have good intentions, but it
Mhm.
doesn't matter because he's at war with himself. He's always at war
Well,
with
the
himself.
Bible says you are. Your body and soul are at war with your spirit.
Well, it's that idea of like the reaction between three things. You can't just have the Father without the Son. You can't have the Son without the Holy Ghost. Yet they have to have all three of them together. And that's what I mean is like it's not, you can't say that they're they all have, like, they're not, they it doesn't work without three of them. Like, you can't say that there's just good and bad. There has to be the interplay between the two. There has to be the affinity between them. Like, a magnet has two poles to it. You can't
Well,
have a
the
magnet with one pole. You can't have a spark with just one lead of a jumper cable.
no, I get that. The Bible talks about an intermediary between the children of Israel and God. They wanted a king. They wanted a king so that they can manipulate the king. So I understand where you're going with this. I just don't understand where evil would be up there as part of heaven.
It's not part of heaven. It has to be, like, you have to have heaven up atop, and then you have to have evil down below. It's like you have to have the north of the magnet, and you have to have the south of the magnet. You have to have the up and down. Like, you have to have, like, it's like what you just said. It's the whole thing you just said about why, if we had unlimited technology and everybody had that, then there would be no reason for us to improve ourselves. It's like
Well, what I was saying was, I think you may have misrepresented what I said. What I said was there would be no reason for people to trust in God anymore.
exactly. And so if that's what good is, I guess that's
Uh-huh.
what I was thinking. Good, it would be that, like, our ability to do that, to trust
Mhm.
in God, because God's what brings us higher, up towards a better place. You
Mhm.
improve that way.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what would people need to improve from if there was nothing bad? So there has to be a fire under your ass to make you
How
go
would you
somewhere.
know? How did Cain even know that murdering his brother was a bad thing until God said it was? I mean, again, this is definitely.
Well, that's interesting because that is the interplay there. Like, you had to
Well,
have the interplay because you had to have covetousness,
well,
covet
and
somebody else.
well, actually, that started the covetousness of the right.
For instance, like, Satan couldn't get a foothold in until they reproduced,
Hmm.
because you have to have the juxtaposition of the two against each other, because that's how Satan was able to get into and corrupt humanity again. It was because he got in between those two people, Cain and Abel.
Dude, I could go on and on,
I
but
know.
I
We'll
really
wrap it
think
up.
I think we need to
It's a good
answer
show.
Ciro's
Yeah,
question,
let's
and
see.
I've got Philip over here. Let's. uh,
So,
Why don't you read
s-
Ciro
yeah,
Langus Langua?
Ciro Olegua on YouTube. The etymology of God isn't always related to good. He says, "See Zeus or Dios." Um, Dios, in Latin, that's God. I'm not necessarily sure what the root of Zeus is or what that's related to. He said heaven is the sky. Yeah, heaven is like the stars in the sky.
There. Hmm.
Yeah, and let's see. Ironically, north equals ultimately from
Pi.
pi. I don't know what the notation was. I left, also below. Sources also the Sanskrit Naraka, hell, Greek Neritos, deeper, lower down, and Nerthan, or from, and then it cuts off.
Yeah, I really don't see a question there, but
That was just like a
I understand what
translation.
you're saying there, Cyro, and thank you for suggesting or giving us that comment.
Yeah, you might have to
Um,
just tell me if there's like something.
yeah, just if there's a question there, please just write out the question. Philip asks, does it all come down to the forces of nature then? I
Yeah,
think that's exactly what we've been talking about.
yeah,
We
it's just the
are just a
force
part
powers.
of, we're a 3D, we're just a matter representation of energy.
Yeah,
And energy is a representation of heaven.
I think the breath concept. Like, I think I would be very comfortable saying that the way that the breath works in us, it is almost like this uh, energy. It's like a big burning energy. Like, not burning as in fire, but it's like it's always alive. You're
Mm-hmm.
breathing. It's alive. It goes
It's a
in and out.
spark. A
Yes,
spark.
as long
Mm-hmm.
as you're alive, from the second
Mm-hmm.
you're born until you die, it's always been right now. You've always lived in right now, and you've always been breathing.
Right. So Philip asked last question. He says, so is hell the center of earth? Well, biblically, the Bible doesn't say it's the center. It says it's under the earth. Saying a center would say that would assume that the earth is round. We can't prove that it's round or flat. Data points both ways. I would answer the round earth is in the representation of earth is flat in the heavens and it's round in matter. So hell, no, it's not at the center of the earth. It's below earth and it's really far down. It's a chamber. That's all we know. And you don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. I've read too many NDEs, near death experiences, too many books.
Right.
If you want to know more about hell, go read Mary Kay Baxter's A Divine Revelation of Hell, or Ken Weiss, Weiss. I think it's 23 Minutes in Hell. That'll shake you to your core. So, yeah, no, it's not the center of the earth, but it is below earth.
Well, yeah, I think all of this stuff is. I get the impression that we're at a time where, like, it's so unique that all of this has really been made available to us. Like, we get to live to a time period where this is what we get to learn about.
That's biblical, even says in the end of days, knowledge will increase.
That's true. It's a crazy time, nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got to
Definitely.
say, Josh, I'm really impressed with the amount of work you put into this and what you found out. You've got my brain just spinning with questions, and
Well, that's good, because I mean, even then, what will happen is I hope to inspire that in people, because then it helps them think on the, whatever, wherever direction you want to go. Like,
Mhm.
even if you want to use what's something you learned tonight and that helps you answer a question you had in yourself from a year ago, that's great. Like, I hope that I can do that, because I think that's what's really valuable. I mean, my method that I apply to this is like,
Mhm.
to a point of it, it helps to, like, for me to learn things. It helps when we talk back and forth if I have a guest on about it, because I think like that as well. But then it gives you that play in your own mind so that you can learn other things off of that. You can use it as like a toolbox, I guess, is the analogy. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, maybe I'm going to use this tool. I learned this, and I remember, when we sit here and talk, I'll remember something that I heard from somebody else,
Mhm.
and I'll bring that up because it pertains to the situation. And so
Well,
it's
every time we
basically
get on
that.
the phone, I can talk to you for hours. I have to cut you off because I've got something to do, but I
I
don't
know.
want to cut you off because I want to continue going through
Well,
this discussion because you know you're helping me understand what some of the theories that I've been thinking and pondering about, but haven't been able to find a way to go in and
yeah.
then start researching. So yeah,
And
and
that's what
what you're working on, you've got, dude. I love your show. I love
I'm
what you
after
do.
that. Like, that is what I think is most effective. Is like, if because that works for me too. That's what I mean by like a lot of this has to do with me learning with the audience. And so it's because of what you just said. It's because when you present and you compress data down to give it to somebody in a simple format, it makes you ask yourself, how do you do that?
Mm.
And that's
And that's not easy.
exactly.
Just like what all we've been talking, it wouldn't surprise me if some person in the future watches this episode and this is what they've been waiting for to connect
Hope so.
whatever, information that they've been working on and then put the full view together. And I'm waiting for the full view. That's what I want to see. I want to have a full understanding of why we are who we are, etc. And that's why I love, preaching the Bible and trying to show people where where it says in the Bible of the times that we live in now.
Yeah, and literally everything that I've ever found, while some of it definitely is like some of it can be unsettling, literally, and I tell people this a lot, and I know that sometimes a lot of people don't see it right off the bat, but it is the fact that there is almost a genuine unsettlingness. It's like I that gives me hope in the redemption from that, because it couldn't exist without being ordained to exist. And so
Mm.
that means it has to be in God's plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that no matter what, if God created the ability for such evil to exist, he had to have created the simultaneous positive redemption from that. That's what I meant back, going a minute back to where I said, like, you literally, an old saying that people around here say is, I'm going to light a fire under your ass to get you moving. You ever
Mm-hmm.
heard that?
Yeah.
Well, literally, that's what I mean. Like the God had to create the fire under our ass for us to move and for us to boil water.
Yeah. Well, put people. I always hear testimonies of people who went through a hard time and they put their faith in God and they're happy and glad that they went through that hard time.
Yes.
I think I think that
And it
all of
sucked at
this
that
is a
time.
test. All of
Mhm.
this is a test. We're all energy beings that are going to live forever. And in order to live forever, you need to go to school and learn about how much of an asshole you can be. So you can look back at what you don't want to be and change. And we're this, I mean, from my point of view, what God has set up is the perfect, most logical way to train beings and get them ready for living forever is
Yeah,
to go
because
through something like this.
every part, like, even down to the words, like one word in the Bible, like you have to pay careful attention to it, because everything has a purpose that way. And so
Hmm.
that's, I guess, back to the same thing. It's like everything has to have a purpose. And so when you look at it from God's perspective, not necessarily ours, when
Hmm.
God looks at it, God already knows that there's that purpose to it. And like he doesn't even think about it. But we as humans think about it because we don't have the whole picture. You know what I mean?
We don't.
You know, uh,
Cyro says 2 John 1:19, we know that we are, I can't read the
of
rest,
God.
of
Yeah.
God, the whole world lies in the power of the evil one.
So I think really the collapse into 3D matter. Well, obviously we're carbon. Carbon is 666. And
Hmm.
so it is, hell is this um, idea of the devil's kingdom. So
Hmm.
maybe, whatever, if the devil is the prince of this world, sometimes the world feels like it's hell. Sometimes it feels great like heaven, though.
It does, but it's a choice. You can choose to, you
Perspective. It's
can,
like
yeah,
when you
it's,
have a bad experience, it hurts in the moment, but then when you get 20 years in the future, you look back and it's like, was it really bad?
well, every mistake I've made, I'm so glad I did because I wouldn't be who I am without
But
going through that
but
horrible
it hurt.
time.
It hurt at
Yeah,
the time,
yeah,
and you thought it
yeah.
was bad at the time.
Yeah, it's like a kid, stealing a candy bar from 7-Eleven at 11 years old. You get smacked on the butt.
Right.
I'll never do that again,
Well,
but
Man,
Not
I
saying
think
that God comes down and slaps our asses, but
he
I,
lights a fire under us.
yeah, right.
But man, I really had a good time. I'm glad that we got to do this
Same.
show tonight. I really am. Guys, let us know what you guys think. Questions, comments, concerns. Anybody who's watching this, maybe a day after it goes up or a day or two, whatever. Hit the like button, especially if you're on James's channel. I would appreciate that. If you're on any of my channels, follow, hit the like button. It helps us out. Helps
Yeah,
get us
guys, do it
seen.
right now.
And we'll do some more content for you in the future whenever we're able to do it. And I'll be filling in probably whenever you're out of town next. It'll be sometime in the near future, I imagine.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but guys, we thank you for tuning in, and we will
Thanks,
see you
guys.
in the next one.
See you in the next one. Thanks, Urban.
Take
Love you,
care.
bud.
Good night.